allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, June 23rd, 7 o'clock p.m. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Call the meeting to order and roll call.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Ryan Ideas.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Carl Warford.
I don't believe there's any proclamations. Audience, anybody in the audience that have something they want to discuss that's not on the agenda? 2, 3 of you? Okay.
I'm Jerry Davis, 108 East 4th Street here in Wahoo. Obviously, you know what my problem's been. I'm a building that's surrounded by the mess. And, he's not been a very good neighbor to us at all, to my situation. You guys don't live around there, you don't have business interests around there. But, we do everything we could to help him. We let him use our electricity anytime he needed it to drain the pond that he had, but he just doesn't reciprocate at all. So I hate to see a project, if this is the kind of neighbor he's going to be, I sure the hell don't want to have a business next to it. And it seems like every time you guys have a meeting, something gets done. The little tiny baby thing, because he got the fence moved off of the west sidewalk. All the weeds are still through there, so nobody's continuing to walk. But the east side, the kids are still walking out in the street because there's no sidewalk on the park side. The only sidewalk we have is on the west side of that street, and that's blocked off. And I thought that fence permit was only for a certain period of time. And I think that's expired. So anyway, my understanding is he now has a building permit. Travis issued a building permit, but I never seen or heard that there was ever any engineered studies on the water drainage that 3 years ago, this is the stuff you guys came up with, the sewer, because there's sewer issues down at that bottom, and Jerry will talk about that back here, and and any wastewater runoff. So I don't know how you got a permit without those, and I think John asked for those from him and has never received anything. So.
I did request those a couple days ago.
Yeah, because I don't think they exist. And
I can comment on that.
okay,
I just haven't had the chance to get them to John, so.
but you have engineered studies.
Yes,
on
Travis wouldn't
sewer,
have-
water, wastewater, all that.
Yes. We wouldn't have issued a permit if they were not in
Absolutely.
compliance
Yeah.
with our regulations, so.
Well, not necessarily regulations, but what the council came up with 3 years ago, what he needed to get a permit. So that's great. And then one real big issue, well, the fence is still down along my property, so I don't know if the fence is supposed to be up or down at this point. Do you have that information, Melissa? Is that expired?
Well, I'm assuming it has expired because the project is way behind, but there still needs, in our opinion, still needs to be a fence around it.
And it's not up along our whole side. So,
I have communicated with Mike about the fence along the sidewalk so that the sidewalk is open. I know Stuart was copied on that email. And
whole sidewalks, east and west?
yes, but I have not, I did give him until next week to get that done. So, I haven't double checked to see if it was done. I know on the west side it has been moved.
Yeah.
Right.
He should probably clean up the sidewalks so people at least walk on it. And probably one of the other things I meant to say before I even started on this mess, Reverend Knudsen fell today in front of our, well actually not, it was in front of our building, but the city's been going through in the mornings, and I don't know what they're doing to the streets, but they're either sweeping them or they're grinding them or doing something along the curbs. And of course, it's been dug out quite a bit in front of our building, so not just the curb, but then down below that, they've been digging out the asphalt. He went to step off of that. It was further down than he apparently thought. And maybe he either broke his hip or his femur. So that's something that's a pretty good liability on your guys' part, so maybe you should take a look at that.
I know they were doing the same thing up by the chamber office, and I would have to hope that they're gonna come right back with asphalt and fill them, but
Yeah, well,
that shouldn't
Yeah.
be left that way very long.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it probably should have been right behind him, but
Should have
anyway, hopefully he's okay.
Where was that at?
Right in front of our building.
Right by your building?
Home real estate. or
The
press.
business?
Yeah, he went to reach for his vehicle, which was parked there, but I think that it's further down than what he planned on, and then went down, hit his head. I mean, he didn't hurt his head, he said it's a hard head, he told us, so he goes, but he was in good spirits and all, but
I was driving by and take a look at that.
yeah. I took some pictures, but I didn't print them out and stuff like that. So anyway, I guess my deal is I'm very concerned about what kind of neighborhood you're gonna be when this is all built. Because if it's not any better than what it is, maybe, he's not from here, not in town, so he doesn't go get to drive by it. I think all of you guys have been by there, because I called you, most of it, and asked if you would at least please come down and take a look at what's there. It's still a mess, broken glass everywhere out in the parking lot, and the weeds, they're gonna grow again. We had a lot of rain, so they're gonna grow again, and they have started again. So I just wish you guys met 30 days a month, because then you can take care of stuff every day, like you should. I mean, if he wants to be a member of our community, or he wants his project to be a member, he needs to be a member of our community, then he needs to take care of things. I don't know what else. I'm so frustrated, as you all could tell that,
Right.
that when I called you that, I don't know what to do. I surely had hope that we reconsider tiffing and not give him that for this project, because he doesn't deserve anything like that for the project. And you want to threaten him and say, well, I'm just gonna leave it a lot, have him level it out, put some grass in there, it'd probably be the best thing. Who knows? Anyway, thank you.
thank you.
Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, you're on the same subject, Polly?
Jerry, my name's John Scott. Jerry has really gone through most of what I have concerns about, really concerned about the whole project in general. Apparently it's going forward. There's been studies, I haven't seen any engineering drawings or anything. Is any of that stuff available, what you're going to actually build, or are you still in the talking stage?
No, he has submitted the full plan set, which we
I'm
have.
sorry, I didn't hear.
I said he has submitted a full plan set. He's provided the documentation. He's done work with the utilities on all of the needs for the buildings and the capacity of the existing system. The stormwater has been addressed also. And so, like I said, I just have not had a chance to get that documentation to you.
Okay, so I appreciate that, I'd like to see some of that. And in all of this, because we were here a year ago talking about this also, and I asked at the time, has there actually been a study done that we actually need this in the downtown area? I know there's several people that want it, but do we
And
actually?
I believe you were sent the housing study, correct?
The what?
The housing
Yeah,
study.
That's just a general thing about how many houses we're gonna need, and that sort of thing. I didn't think anything specific about a housing or apartment development in the downtown area. And I don't know, was this ever put forward to some of the citizens in this town? Do they want that also? I know it's been scaled down. The last I heard, I was told it was 3 stories total. Does that include the retail and then 2 more layers? Well, that would be in fitting with what the architecture is for this town. I don't think we should build anything higher than that. So, but my concern is still that we actually need that in the downtown area. Even the retail space, we've got 3 or 4 empty retail spaces now. So I don't know that we're demonstrating that we need more retail spaces until we get those filled up. So. And the other question, well, timeframe on this. What are we talking about? When they think they're gonna start this, or when they're gonna submit final plans?
He's,
He
He
has
would have
submitted.
he would have 1 year under the building permit. Maybe
Has 1 year to
1
start.
year under the building permit to complete and get an occupancy permit. Otherwise, he'd have to come back
To get the permits and the documentation, has a year to put that all together, is that what?
So, I don't know. It sounds like he's already been issued the permit, is that
Yes,
right?
yes.
So it'd be 1 year from the date of issuance of the permit till when the permit expires.
Okay,
And he has to have an occupancy permit before that happens. Now, I will say that it's not unusual on a commercial project or a larger project for an applicant to come back in and ask for the reissuance of a building permit, but he'd have to go through that.
Because I don't think you're gonna put that together in a year.
Yeah,
So, does that also include the parking issue that we have in the downtown area on 4th Street in front of the Civic Center, on Beach and on Linden? Has that been addressed also?
so as of right now, all of the terms and conditions that were in the TIF agreement are null and void. We'd have to enter into a new agreement relative to any of those things.
But to be clear,
But
he has downsized his project
I understand that.
so that the parking needed for his residential development
Yes,
is on site.
yes, but that doesn't address the additional parking that we need on Linden for the downtown area and on 4th Street.
Yeah.
And there was talk a year ago that we were gonna make Beach into some angle parking also. I don't know how far along that is, but we could surely use that. And speaking of the Civic Center, there's rumors going around that are talking about moving the Civic Center to a different location. Has there been any discussion on that?
been a lot of discussion. It's in a long-range plan.
Okay, well, you know you're gonna have a little pushback on that. People like that downtown location. They like the fact that the kids can come there, and they like that it's centrally located for the senior citizens, for all of us. So moving it would be, we wanna make sure that all of the citizens are on board with that one, so.
Well,
Anyway, I look forward to that additional information. I appreciate your time.
thank you. John?
Good evening. I'm John Lenfer. I live at 1237 North Hickory Street. I'm actually on zoning and planning, but I'm not here in that capacity. I'm here as a private citizen. I'm concerned about Hickory Street from 12th to 15th. And I live directly west of Bel Air Park. The road going from 10th Street to 12th has been previously paved. Someone came in and paved 10th to 12th. There is no paving from 12th to 15th. And there's getting to be a lot of holes in the concrete there, and I personally feel that maybe some pavement might be in order. I don't know who's in charge of streets or street repairs. I imagine some one of you is in charge of that. So I'm just here to personally ask that someone look at those streets from 12th to 15th and see if they would warrant some paving work. And that's as simple as my presentation is.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will relay that on. I'm sure it's in his schedule, but we'll have to find out.
I would like to know what that schedule
Okay,
is.
yeah. I know there's a lot of other streets in town that need some help too, so, yeah.
Along that same vein, Jerry, are they gonna redo Broadway Street anytime soon?
Are they gonna what?
Are they gonna redo Broadway Street as part of that project? Because we were promised to do a surface area for Broadway after Chestnut was done.
In front of the city hall where it used to be, that block will be redone when the project at the city hall becomes a public safety building. Then that street, I said I'll support the project if we include that street, in front of Chamber Office and west side of Post Office.
They used Broadway from First to 12th Street for a bypass when they were redoing Chestnut, and it's all tore up. That whole street really is redone. That is in the long-term plan?
I'm sure it is. We've got a 1 in 6 year plan as road funds are available, and so we can, you got two things that you and I need to talk about. Yeah.
I'm Jerry Wagner, live at 411 East 4th, Wahoo, down in the bottom of the hill by the swimming pool. And as far as I am understanding is that sewer is gonna run down that hill and tie into that main at the bottom of the hill and go to the treatment plant. Is that correct? Or is
What-
anybody here to know?
I don't know that for certain.
I talked to the gentleman last, I mean, it's been quite a while ago.
Yeah, I remember you were here, Ryan Hurst from
Utilities guy,
Utilities, yeah.
And
He
he
has
talked
one-
about it, he said it was going to go down there, well, that sewer main on the bottom of that hill is an 8-inch main. And I was required to put an 8-inch main in for 2 houses. 2 houses with 4 bathrooms total. So I'm looking at this utilities apartment that's coming in, I don't know how many units it is right now. I ain't sure what code the city is using, if they're using UPC or national code or have their own code as far as plumbing code, but the way I'm looking at it, that sewer is running half full and I tied into it down there. And I don't think if there's more than 25 units up here, I don't think that sewer is gonna maintain it. I'd like to see the study that says that that's actually gonna work, that main. Because in my opinion, it's not going to, and I'd like to know who is gonna pay for this when it gets built and everything, and the sewer can't handle it, and I'm at the bottom of the hill, and it's all coming in on me, whoever else is at the bottom. Because everything runs downhill, and I don't wanna be on the short end of the stick there, so. I'd like to make sure that, there was something done with that, and people understand, at least a fixture unit count was done, and a little bit of a study was done to see how much flow is gonna go through that line. And that line right now is running pretty flat, and it's running half full all the time. You go down and pull the manhole down on First Street down there, and it's half full. There's another line somewhere else by the church down there, by the school. I don't know where that one runs, never tied onto that one, I never messed with that one, but if that sewer line is running down to the bottom of the hill, there's gonna be a problem. And I'd like to make sure that's in the meeting of this, or into the minutes of the meeting of this, so when we come back up, I wanna make sure that everybody was aware of it and it was accounted for.
I would suggest that the first Wednesday night in July, July 1st, that you attend in this room the utility committee. It's not going to be then?
No, it's the third Wednesday.
It's the third Wednesday, but in July it's going to be moved because Ryan won't be here that night.
Oh,
My understanding, they were gonna do something different with the sewer, run it in a different direction and stuff, but I don't know for a fact where it's gonna run, but if it's going down to that main, down on 4th Street, it ain't big enough to handle. That's all I just wanna make sure that we're aware that if it is going there, and I wanna make sure that we're aware of it, something gets done with that before it gets all filled up and stuff. That's all I got. And the water, I think the water's taken care of, so. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. We'll move on with the regular agenda. A report by Daniel, I can't pronounce your last name, it's not Swedish. So, a resident of Wahoo on the broadband education. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So just a little bit about me. I come from a telecom background, been in telecom 15 plus years. Worked for both small and mid and large size telecom companies. Worked closely with different community associations, city officials, internal design and permitting teams, as well as external design and permitting teams, construction teams, and dispatch and our technical operations teams. And I have been made aware that, I guess my concern is the way that Unity is deploying their infrastructure, and some questions around how they're building their architecture to, because with my understanding is that they are doing aerial drops, which they're essentially tying to our utility poles, which in the Midwest state, where we're susceptible to a lot of weather, can be of concern. And just going into kind of how our internet has grown over the years, of course, going from the 90s all the way through, you want to go one more? There we go. Yep. Obviously, our need for broadband internet has evolved, and it continues to evolve, right? On average, we're using, 17 to 20 devices, right? Each device needs a significant amount of headroom to operate, especially as our needs grow. And I am a huge advocate of fiber versus, around here spectrum coax. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but to power coax infrastructure, you need a ton of electricity pumping directly into coax to power the lines and to power the nodes that distribute the access to internet. With such immense power, can be susceptible to severe degradation over time. It doesn't hold up as long, but also one bad lightning strike, and then it can be catastrophic potentially, right? So, huge proponent, huge advocate of fiber. On the next slide, your typical process is you go out, you do a site survey, design and engineering get involved. There's permitting that's involved, the construction aspect, right? How we're building the infrastructure, and a lot goes into that. Some of those things are the drops. Are they going to be aerial or are they going to be buried? Buried is the key winner. It is more expensive, which is why when CapEx, OpEx, you're trying to really save some money but still deploy your network. You'll do aerial drops. The main reason why they do it. But as well is, we'll get into it, but then also, the head end, which is pretty much the brains of the infrastructure, most simply put. A lot of providers will split that head end so it'll feed not only one particular community or development or city, but it might feed into other surrounding areas. So essentially, redundancy can lack there a little bit, because if one side goes out, then your head end that's feeding to neighboring communities area will also be out, which is why redundancy is important. And then, of course, other things, and we'll get into it as well, but GPON architecture, we'll get into that. But then, of course, after the construction phase, you'll have completion and activation of the network and the infrastructure.
Just a real quick question.
Yes.
Are you presenting information to us on behalf of Unity or just as a...
As a private citizen.
And are you concerned with the way the install is going to take place with Unity? Is that
I'm concerned with the aerial drops because of how susceptible. Like, ideally, you would want, especially in the Midwest,
right?
You'd want it buried.
Buried if you can.
If you can, absolutely. But then also the other concern is the architecture type, which is in one of my slides, because we have different types. We have a PON architecture, which the PON architecture determines the amount of speeds that can be provided to a resident, right? So a PON architecture, usually up to 1 gig. A lot of providers are doing it, but they're phasing it out, and they're moving to an XGS PON, which can provide 10 gig symmetrical speed. Once the architecture is built out, providers don't touch that for almost a decade. So it's really important, in my experience, to try and future-proof as well. So it's future-proofing the way the drops are being done, and then what does redundancy look like, and resiliency, right? And then as well, you know, when they're, I don't know, they plan on leasing circuits or building their own circuits, which routes the fiber from point A to point B essentially. But is there gonna be any redundancy with, you know, the circuits as well? To just provide some further redundancy.
So you're just here out of concern with the way Unity's gonna be doing that?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess my thought on that is, from what I understand, a lot of it's gonna be buried, and I think there's probably spots maybe where there may be aerial fiber, but I think most of the fiber that Windstream Unity has is probably underground.
I know it'll get buried at some point, right, when the utility pulls down, it'll for sure get buried, but the more it can get buried completely, you know, the better, and I think that's, you know, part of the concern.
Are you talking the feed that's going to be supporting the whole network, or are you talking to the home?
It's both, right? Because one, I'm concerned about what's in the cabinet, you know, their infrastructure. How is that being built, and are we future-proofing that? Is that resilient? Which, of course, then will impact how it gets delivered to the home.
Yeah, but we're talking about the aerial aspect.
The aerial, yeah. So that the aerial drum will get fed into most likely where their cabinet is, where their pond infrastructure, because it'll go there and then it'll get split, right? There'll be a ton of fibers in there and it'll start getting split. So of course, the resiliency going into that is important. And I know, you know, that the city owns its own power and stuff, but something that some other cities have done in the past too, and I know, for example, Allo did this with Lincoln, where they actually, the city built out the infrastructure, and we refer it to when there's fiber on the ground that isn't being used, it's dark fiber, and then they essentially leased it to Allo, which is, and I know, again,
They did some, but Al came in the neighborhoods and buried for the most part, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a telecom background. I work.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in telecom for 34 years, so I know that specifically for Lincoln, what Al did when they buried.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, yeah, just my concerns around the resiliency, you know, how they're deploying the drops, the pond architecture, and then the SLAs behind that, right? What is, you know, if something goes out, what does that look like? Same day, next day? You know, are the citizens of Wahoo going to be right to its own independent IVR? What does that look like? But I think it'd be important to just, you know, kind of know what that looks like.
I think with them burying the fiber, especially in the right of ways, there's not a lot of control that we have as a city
Yeah.
over what their architecture is for,
Yeah.
for resiliency and redundancy. Because they're going to go back to the office here, the switch here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's fed different directions here.
Correct. Yeah, and I think for the most part, again, I'm here as an advocate, and again, I'm huge. The company that I work for is based out of another state, so I have there's no bias here. Nothing against Unity. I've worked with them because we order circuits from them all the time. But, you know, I think just future-proofing this, you know, would be great. I think the city holds a lot of power right now and a lot of leverage, so to speak, just because there is a need and there is a hunger for, you know, better infrastructure, fiber network. Everyone I talk to is just, you know, coax sucks, spectrum sucks, all these things are awful. Of course, fiber is a lot different and a lot better. And, you know, we'd just like to see this built right, future-proofed, with some resiliency, and what do those SLAs look like? You know, and you know, I worked with, you know, I'm also, I'm not sure in the spirit of competition looks like, but, you know, I have worked with a lot of different acquisition people and C-levels at different companies. No problem reaching out to consultants to them to see what their appetite is to also potentially bring some fiber to Wahoo. Again, up to me, I know that's kind of the city handles, you know, permitting and all that stuff. So, but more than happy to put some feelers out there.
Sorry, I interrupted you, go ahead.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
I was just curious the direction that you were coming from, I just wanted to see.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from, essentially. And then, so just, I think I covered a lot of this already, right? Just future proofing, there's some leverage here just because of the need and hunger and appetite for a fiber provider to come in. It is huge. And then, of course, just in case, no one has this background, right? The aerial drops don't impact the symmetrical speeds. The only difference is resiliency, right? Because you have, the drop is, the fiber is buried, it's a lot more resilient versus an aerial drop. Same thing, right? Exposure to weather, outages, could be frequency. And also too, depending on where the utility pole is, right? If a bucket truck can't get back there and the easement, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the plans look like. But I know I have run into that where even a company that I work for, we ran into like, oh, there's an aerial drop here. We can't get a bucket truck behind there. So, there goes that. And now this pocket of homes that were serviceable are no longer serviceable for who knows how long. Again, just things that would be susceptible to, especially in a state like Nebraska. And then the other thing too, landlines, more and more, right? We're moving away from those copper connections over to voice over IP or your landline connected to the internet through your internet connection, right? So if there's an outage, right, that could potentially impact landlines. And then, of course, for those of you that know or have the experience, the PON architecture is important. DOCSIS, which is being phased out, very old infrastructure. The GPON infrastructure that can support ideally up to 2.5 gig symmetrical. XGS PON, which is what a lot of companies are moving towards in its future proofing. And then, of course, what's up and coming is the 25 gig PON architecture. And that's been slowly emerging as well. And again, just an explanation, the PON architecture, what it does, it just pretty much guarantees the symmetrical speeds or determines, how much speeds the residents or the community can get. But there are also things that can impact that is the CPE, or the equipment that's being provided or the hardware that's being provided. That can have an impact to what can actually be delivered to the homes as well. So all that, curious to know what they are deploying as far as hardware and things like that is important.
And the two tech guys here, are you understand and
Yes.
have questions or comments?
Yeah.
Or,
Very aware of PON and.
okay, you're all right with it?
I've installed GPON and XPON.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I know I covered this, but yeah, once a company builds out their PON architecture, which again is what determines how much speed can be delivered to a community or a home. Once that builds out, most providers won't touch that for almost 10 years. I'm working on renewals right now, and we're looking at communities that we've started servicing 15 years ago, and we still haven't upgraded their infrastructure because it is costly. It's a huge undertaking. So a lot of companies won't even do it or will stop ultimately serving that community just because of the cost.
As I'm thinking about this, I'm not sure what our authority is. Yes, they're using our right-of-way, but the legislature has come in recently and put some pretty firm obligations on us in terms of speed of review of permits and, and I don't know what authority we have to dictate the level of service, the kind of material, all of those things. I just don't know that we do.
Yeah, no, and that's understandable. I know a lot of permits have probably been already issued and a lot of work has gone underway. But just seeing if there's, I don't know if there is currently an open line of communication, just to have an idea of what all this looks like, resiliency, some of the SLAs, I think would be good to understand that aspect, but Unity is one of many companies that have received hundreds of millions of dollars in backing. There's a lot of companies out there, both small and large, pumping a lot of money, right? And a lot of companies have goals to especially go into underserved areas to bring fiber. So they have a vested interest to make this work and ultimately increase their home passings and increase their market share in Nebraska, the Midwest. So, not sure again if there's any kind of open line communication. I know a few people out at Unity, more than happy to get, try and get some information, but again, I didn't want to also overstep, right? I'm here as an advocate, just sharing, my understanding of what I know, and hopefully with the intent of future-proofing and seeing what their architecture looks like.
How deep is the cable supposed to be? Is there
Usually about 6 inches. 6 inches typically, 6 to 8, if you're burying it, 6 to 8 inches.
okay.
To the home.
The drop.
Yes, to the drop, yes,
Yeah.
let me rephrase that, yes, the drop, yes, 6 to 8 inches.
Which I don't think is deep enough, because I can't even run an aerator without fear that I'm gonna punch through my fiber to my house. I think it should be 18 inches. Because that's when I call one call, that's the minute, like, are you digging more than 18 inches? Yes or no? That's one of the questions. So I think every utility that's buried should be 18 inches at a minute.
I agree.
So I can
They
actually
should
start
have done,
digging at
I
my
mean-
house and not worry about
Yeah.
ripping up my cable or my internet.
Yeah, I know they probably should be doing, or should have done locates, to try and identify where the lines are to try and avoid that, but it still happens. I get outages, I've gone into so many outages with Spectrum notifications, and a lot of it is third-party nuts, so that's been,
Main lines are no over 3 feet if they have to be.
yeah.
I'm assuming,
Okay.
not to interrupt you, but I'm assuming what you're suggesting is maybe there be some dialogue with, say, Utilities Committee and you, talk through some of it and then determine if it would be appropriate to then have direct communication with Unity or whatever the approach would be there.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, because they have a vested interest in making this work. Because I've launched into underserved markets, and it's always in our best interest to work with the city and the residents. Because again, we're spending, again, I don't know what the cost of this project, but I've worked on similar projects and we're easily, $500,000-$600,000 in just building out infrastructure for maybe a town this size. So, obviously we want to return on that. We want to, increase revenue and market share. So they're going to be, I think they'd be very open to dialogue.
Okay.
Or the city can build its own infrastructure and lease it out. Again, I know there are some laws around that. Again, I'm not the attorney, so I don't know, but that's, I know that has worked in other cities.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, this is a lot of stuff we've covered, and I think the rest of it will just be very much what we've already covered and answered a lot of questions ahead of time. And I guess I know I was limited to some time, but I think, I'm also going through my presentation real quick, but I think that's pretty much it.
Dan, I'm sorry, what was your last name, Dan?
Uruguay.
And you live here in town?
Yes, I live on Birch Street.
Well, very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Anyone has any other questions for me? I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, department head report.
Sure, I just have a couple things to share. So the members of the Downtown Revitalization Steering Committee were sent an email with information. We are getting ready to kick off our community engagement piece of that. There's going to be surveys distributed to not only businesses downtown, but also residents of the community, asking them what they want their downtown to be. We will be participating in a couple of pop-up events. JEO will be bringing their team and be present. I don't know what day or what part of the fair, but that was identified, and then be around during the weekend of the Wahoo experience. If you've seen the Chamber of Commerce advertise that for that, that's, we kind of decided that that's a place where people who are passionate about the downtown, who want a good experience from downtown, who like Wahoo, who are buying into the businesses, would be, and hopefully we can get some good feedback from them. Stuart had a question about FEMA. You'll see in the claims that there was a transfer of $766,000 and change to the utilities from the city. So just a little explanation. This is from the winter storm, March 2025, there were 3 categories of work. There's category A, which is the emergency response, and that was the debris cleanup. There's category F, which is the utilities, and then there's category Z, which is the administration expenses. Category A, we submitted all the documentation, that total project cost for doing the cleanup. We had stuff out of the cemetery was done, and done here in town was $69,487. We received 75% of that back from FEMA, so $52,000, and then that was distributed back to the departments that allocated their employees to assist the police health, Denise health, primarily the street and cemetery, but Park and Rec assisted as well. On the category F, really there wasn't a lot of overlap between city and utility employees, maybe just a little bit, but in the interest of record keeping, it's all going to the utilities. And that total project cost was $1,021,613, and so the 75% share is that came from FEMA is the $766,000, and that included the utility staff work, the supplies, mutual aid. Yeah, there might have been a little bit more than that, or I think Brian has the specific numbers, but not much more than that. And then on the category Z, the administrative side of it, we're still working on that. I think out of all of the projects, that's the worst documentation that we kept, just because it's, when you're in the heat, when you're doing the work, you're not like, unless you're used to, I think maybe Joe and you're used to jotting down every 15 minutes. I'm not used to doing that, I just do the work, and so we're working to find those, that documentation, and FEMA has some standards for that, like if you sent an email or you were on a meeting, there's some standards for amount of time. So we're working to get that wrapped up, and that the maximum that can be is 5% of the total, so roughly $55,000. I don't know that we'll reach that, but should get some back. So. Any other questions on projects?
Thanks for the explanation of that. Because then that was basically $1 million of expense for that storm that we finally are now getting reimbursed for. Basically, it's our time and effort helping clean up.
Yes.
That one, most of that for the West.
In poles and.
Yes,
And
most of it was
A
the,
lot of stuff.
Yeah, but basically the city of Wahoo got the check and it has to go to utilities.
Yes.
It's kind of the short way.
Utilities pay for it, now we're paying utilities back.
Yeah. and the state in their payment of money, sometimes you can say, well, it really needs to go to this bank account, but it doesn't. We got it, so now it's in our
As
control.
long as they pay it, only took another year if you tried to put that in a different place.
Any other questions? Anything? Let's see.
Okay,
Oh, I just wanted, the Arts Council is holding their, what do you call it, strategic planning sessions. There's 2 more left. There's one tomorrow at noon at the museum, and there is one on Monday morning
At the senior
at the
center.
senior center, yes. And to be clear, for anyone that's listening in on the public, these are not events that are sponsored by the city or hosted by the city. It's the Creative Arts, the Arts Council that is doing all of this. So.
Consent agenda. Is this 4,500 claim from JEO, that's work done so far? or-
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Second, questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing and associated action items. Number one, hearing on the report from the reviewing authority regarding a request for reasonable accommodations to allow for the keeping of poultry within Wahoo's corporate limits. Jovan and I have been the officers that have worked with this, and I'll be the presiding officer in the hearing, and Jovan will be presenting the information.
So our report by the reviewing authority is included there. Basically what we do, just to explain it to you for the next time this comes up, is we go through and we determine first whether or not there's a qualifying disability which would entitle that person to request a reasonable accommodation. In this case there was, so then we move to the next box of, okay, based on that qualifying disability or issue, is the request reasonable in its form and tied? And typically, as an initial matter, the question is there something from an expert, typically a doctor, a therapist, or the like, which would link what the request is to the disability, right? Because there has to be a connection between the two. And here, generally speaking, there was. Then the third point of that is, can you accomplish the same goal or objective in a way that doesn't materially negatively impact the city, its staff, administration, the rules and regulations of the city and the like. And I think that's where Jerry and I, you can see from our report, felt like the application was lacking. There wasn't a lot of information that specifically indicated it had to be these types of animals, there had to be more than one, over what time frame, any of those things, right? Just there wasn't enough detail, I think, in our mind to justify the request. I think the other thing that from a practical standpoint and administratively implementing that accommodation is it's linked to a temporary disability. It's not a lifetime disability, it's a particular instance. So then the city would have to oversee that period of time, determine when it lapsed, and then pull away from that person that accommodation, which creates, one, a monitoring requirement of the city, but also two, a very difficult situation, right? That you would have to remove that accommodation at some future date and impact that family who now is even closer tied to those animals. And that's not something I think anybody felt like was a really attractive thing that the city wanted to go down that path to do. And then I think you get into, again, even if it was done on a temporary basis, would it be just one? So then you're still pulling more animals from that family and those individuals, and it just wasn't a great situation. Now, what I would say is, as you can see from the response email, they've determined on their own, after we sent the reviewing authority's report, to get rid of the animals, so it makes the matter moot. I don't think you have to hold the hearing or make a decision whether you do or don't agree with the reviewing authority. There's no reason to do that. But I did want to explain a little bit as to why the report reads the way it does and what the process is. So again, if you or the public, run into this situation, then, we understand procedurally what has to happen, and the public understands what it means to ask for and potentially be granted a reasonable accommodation. So again, no reason to act. I think we would just list in the minutes that the matter was not acted upon based on the responsive email from the applicant.
So with that, I'll close the public hearing. So that will be noted, and I thought maybe she'd be here tonight, but I found out she's okay with it evidently, so. Okay. Action items. First one, acceptance of the new pumper truck and addition to authorized action to authorize final payment.
So at the time I put this on the agenda, I thought we were actually going to have the pumper truck and an invoice, so I'd ask that you table it until we actually have documents.
Need a motion for that?
So,
I'll make a motion to table it until we receive the proper documentation for the new pumper truck and the,
I'll second.
yeah,
Okay,
Any estimated timeframe?
well, let's see, Stuart. Originally it was October, and then it was December,
Well, so
then
not tomorrow,
January,
probably, if it'll look.
then April. I do know that the fire department sent a team to do their final inspection of the vehicle. There was a few things to be adjusted. I would hope by the next council meeting, which is 3 weeks, right? Get one of those lovely spans. We would have an ordinance or an invoice for you to approve.
so we have a motion and a second to table item 1 on the pumper truck. Questions? Roll call.
Rappel.
yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Number 2, resolution to set a hearing date for the Board of Equalization to consider a levy of special assessments for Wilma Ridge subdivision.
Again, this is just a resolution to set the hearing. I did include the assessments in there if you wanted to review them, just so you have them ahead of time. It's the same, I mean, I could go through them now, I could go through them at the next meeting when we have the hearing. In both Wilma Ridge and the next action, which is North Highlands Phase 2, these documents have been sent to the developer, and neither of them have any issues with it, so unless, I don't know who would be present at the Board of Equalization, unless there's some questions that you as the council have about the numbers or the,
So this process could be at a council meeting? Or is
so
it?
this is just a resolution to set a hearing date,
Yeah,
because,
but I want to know, can we have that hearing date on a council night?
yes, it is, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yes.
So-
And I think I do have it in there as the next council meeting, so.
Okay,
So you need a motion you need a resolution.
A motion to approve the resolution for Wilma Ridge, and then a motion to approve the resolution for the North Highlands.
I can vote for those. You seconded that?
I'll second
so you're recommending the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
first meeting in July then?
Yep.
Okay,
This is for Wilma Ridge specifically.
okay. So, might as well do it in 2. Resolution on the Wilma Ridge. Roll call.
Creachy.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Number 3, resolution on the hearing for North Highlands.
Creachy.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
I do want to just make one comment. If you look closely at both Wilma Ridge and at North Highlands, you'll see the assessment per lot is literally within pennies between the 2 subdivisions. And I did these at a little bit different time frames, and that was strictly coincidence that they came, but I think that means that we're right in the ballpark, we're the right number, right?
Yeah. That's good.
So,
Yeah.
So unofficially, you're not expecting a big issue?
no,
Okay,
it's a process.
yeah, right, have to be done. Okay, number 4, approval of second reading of the ordinance 2504 regarding annexation of Crummell Industrial Subdivision.
Motion to approve the second reading. We got one more to go then after that, right? I'll
Yeah.
second that.
Okay, roll call.
Creachy.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, mayor's comments, really, after the last meeting, and we talked about some of the cleanup that maybe needs to happen around town, Stewart filed an official complaint against the property, called the grocery store property. I filed a official complaint, and I have ridden around town, and I have 13 more, dealing with trees, dead trees, overgrown trees, if it's in a site triangle, junk in the yards, and starting a collection of the homes that are vacant. So I'm not done yet, but Christina's got them, and she'll know when to enact them. She started on some, I think.
Some of them that you had listed, we had already received complaints
Yeah.
about, so.
Yeah.
I believe Travis and I are going to go review the list that you gave us when he's back on Thursday or Friday. So,
Sounds good.
The last meeting when we did talk about the grocery store property, has there been communication with Mike since then? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Do we know, does Mike have the financing to do this? No, that was a question we had at one point in time.
What I remember, he's going through the process to firm it up. He's firming it up.
When I emailed him to ask him to address weeds and then to move the fence back off the sidewalk, he asked for a waiver on moving the fence back so the sidewalk was available, because he said 30 to 45 days he would be moving forward. And I pushed back saying we have a lot of activities going on in the downtown and that sidewalk needs to be available, so.
Wasn't it back in May, he said he would be? He'd be putting footage in the ground at the end of May or early June, and here we are, end of June.
And I get it, I know construction gets pushed back, but it seems to be a recurring thing.
Hear a lot of things from him, like, gonna start here, and then it gets pushed back, gets pushed back, so I'll believe it when I see it.
He doesn't seem to have an urgency on any of his projects, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
We've had.
Well, I'm not speaking for or against his project, but it is his property. And yes, I think his energy would be well spent making sure it looks nice.
I mean, it is
Yeah,
his
a
property,
lot of
but it
people
is our
looking at it.
sidewalks.
Pardon me?
It is our
Yeah.
sidewalks.
Yes,
We
I
control the
agree,
right
yeah.
of ways, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
So we don't approach it, see if he wants to sell it.
Yes, but millions of people.
I know the people here
I guess I'd like
tonight,
to see, him being a little more aware of that and maybe take a more proactive stance instead of hearing from the city.
Show some urgency.
Yeah.
Be a good neighbor.
Be a good neighbor.
steward.
Yeah. And I think the challenge, obviously for you as elected officials by the public, is responding to those complaints and trying to get people to understand the limited nature of what we can accomplish, right? We have nuisance authority, we control the right-of-way, we control the TIF, but beyond that, we don't have much of anything unless we want to incentivize completion, right? And we're not really in a position to want to incentivize completion, so it puts you as a council in a difficult situation. And I think based on the comments, people don't understand that, right? I think they think there's more direct city engagement as it relates to what is constructed there and how the timeline and all of those things.
I would agree with that.
Generally is not true.
I would agree with that
Yeah.
assessment for
I
sure.
would agree with that, but one thing we do control is the tip.
Yeah.
yeah.
Whether or not we should have tip or not, showing.
Well, frustrated people here tonight, we're frustrated, but. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Well, to me, things that are easy to do are maintain your property. Keep the weeds down. The very basics seem attainable. We're all busy.
Be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the council?
well, on the bigger picture, I think the general perception of the community is they don't want to file a complaint. And I'm not understanding why you wouldn't at least want to call City Hall and say, I have a problem with this property. I don't know if they feel if it's made public on who's complained, or I don't know how to let people know that it's okay to let us know if you're seeing something.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people comment about this property, that property. I said, well, file a complaint, because we can't, as a city, we don't get to watch everything that goes on every property. You see something, let us know. There's something, people will not file a complaint very easily at all. And I don't know how to tell them that you can't, you should. It helps the city.
Yeah, well, I would say tell them to let the city know,
Yep.
and I will review it, and we'll keep track of who filed it, but I'll take the guts to file a complaint on their behalf. So
That is something that I hear, is I don't want them to know that I've made the complaint. I don't
Yeah.
ask, if you don't wanna give me your name, that doesn't bother me.
Right.
I don't, it's not
Right.
part of our,
Yeah.
there's something on the
Just
form that
show them
asks
the
for a
newsletter.
name,
You
but
don't have to fill it out. That's
My-
different.
my
Yeah.
question to them is, do you want contacted about what's happening? If the answer is no, then don't give me your name, don't give me your phone number, I don't need to know any of those things.
Worried about retaliation.
Right,
Yeah,
but I don't know anybody, so I'm not spreading anything around.
No, I'm not saying you, I'm saying.
No, I know.
First they call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need a neighbor's.
Well, that small town mentality, you know, if they call in, everybody knows everybody, I know that is hesitation that I've heard from others.
Absolutely.
anything else? Meeting adjourned.
That's longer than the meeting.
We did pretty good for,
I know you got this phone call.
Jerry, tomorrow, I'm working at City